Welcome back everyone for day 14. Today's I can statement is I can use rounding to help me solve a word problem. So we can learn from this I can statement that we're still using rounding today, okay? All right, so we're going to get started. I've pulled some word problems up on the screen for us to solve. And we're going to talk about how we're going to solve and how we are going to round to help us solve. All right, so the first word problem. Mrs. Smith baked 147 cupcakes on Monday. She baked 162 more on Wednesday. About how many cupcakes does she have altogether, rounded to the nearest hundred? All right, so this problem has told us that we are rounding to the nearest hundred, so we know we're going to have to do that. But first, let's see what we have to do, what operation we're going to have to use. So, Mrs. Smith baked 147 cupcakes on Monday. She baked 162 more on Wednesday. So, if she is baking more cupcakes, is she adding to the amount that she has, or is she taking away from that amount? She is adding. It says about how many cupcakes does she have altogether? Well, we know that if she's taking more cupcakes and she's putting it with what she already has, she's going to get a bigger number. So she is adding. We know that that's the operation that we're going to have to use. The problem also says about. Now, we've talked in Miss Long's class a lot about the word about, the word estimate, and the word round. All of those are words that can mean that we need to round our numbers, okay, or our answer. So there are two different ways that you can solve. I'm going to show you the different ways. The first way is to solve first and then round. The second way is to round first and then solve. Okay, so over here, I'm going to solve first and then round. So my problem would be 147 plus 162. I'm going to use base 10 blocks. 100, 4 tens, 7 ones, 100, 6 tens, and 2 ones. Now we know when we're adding, what do I always add first? My ones. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We do not have to regroup because we don't have 10 ones. Let's count our tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What happens when I have 10 tens? I have to regroup and they become 100. How many do I have left? 0. And now I add my hundreds. 1, 2, 3. So we know that Mrs. Smith has 309 cookies. Now, if I look at my answer choice, I see that none of those are the answer. So I know that I have to round next. So what I'm going to do is erase the math here, and I'm going to round. Well, the problem was nice enough to tell us that we need to round to the nearest hundred. So the first thing I'm going to do, draw my number line with my benchmarks and my midpoint. If I'm rounding to my nearest hundred, am I looking at my ones, my tens, or my hundreds? I'm looking at my hundreds, so that would be 3. How much is 3 hundreds worth? 300. What comes after 300 when we count by hundreds? 400. And in the middle would be 350 at our benchmark. 309, is it closer to 350? Or I'm sorry, does it come before 350 or after 350? It comes before. So is 309 closer to 300 or closer to 400? It is closer to 300. So we know that 309 rounds down to 300, which gives us the answer choice of A. Now, I said that there is another way to solve. You could have rounded first and then solved. So 147 rounded to the nearest hundred. I'm looking at my hundreds place. That would be my 1. 100, what comes after 100? 200. In the middle, 150. We know that 147 comes before 150. So is it closer to 100 or closer to 200? It is closer to 100, so we know 147 rounds down to 100. Let's round 162 to my nearest hundreds. Again, looking at the hundreds place, the value of 100 is 100. What comes after 100? 200. And in the middle is 150 at the midpoint. 162 comes after 150. Is it closer to 200 or closer to 100? It is closer to 200, so it rounds up to 200. Now we would have to put our rounded numbers together. We want to know how many cupcakes she made all together. So 100 plus 200 is 300, which gives us A. In this case, we got the same answer, whether you rounded first and then, whether you rounded first like we did here and then solved, or whether you solved first and then rounded. Let's do another one together. Out of 602 honeybees in the hive, 223 go out searching for flowers. About how many are left, rounded to the nearest 10? All right, this one also says about, which means that we are going to round. We could have also said estimate. And they've told us that we're going to round to the nearest 10. All right, you can solve this one together with me in your notebook so you have an example. We know that 602 bees are in the hive. And we know that 223 go out searching for flowers. So if they are going out, are they adding to the amount of bees, or are we leaving? Are we taking bees away? We are subtracting bees away. So I'm going to solve first, and then I'm going to round. I'm going to use base 10 to help me solve. I draw my largest number, which is 602, so 600s, 0 tens, and 2 ones. Now, I always take away my ones first. I'm taking away 3 ones, but I don't have enough. So I go next door to my tens to borrow, but I don't have any from them either. So now I have to go to my hundreds. I take away 100. 10 tens make 100, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I'm going to check my ones. I still can't subtract because I don't have enough. So I'm going to regroup a 10 and add, let's see if I can change my color. There we go. And add 10 ones because 10 ones make a 10. Now I'm ready to subtract. I take away 3 ones. How many am I left with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I take away 2 tens. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I take away 2 hundreds. 3. So 379 bees are left. However, we are not done. The problem says rounded to the nearest 10. So now I need to round 379 to the nearest 10. The first thing I'm going to do is draw my number line with my benchmarks and my midpoint. Now I'm rounding to the nearest 10. So what place value am I looking at? My tens. Not my 9, but my 7. Are my hundreds going to change? No, so I'm going to go ahead and write those in. How much is 7 tens worth? 70. What comes after 70? 80. And in the middle is 50. Oh, sorry. In the middle is 75. Miss Long was rounding to the nearest hundreds for a minute. Now, 379. Does it come before 375 or after 375? It comes after. So is 379 closer to 380 or closer to 370? It is closer to 380. So 379 rounded to the nearest 10 is 380. So your answer choice is D. All right, we're going to do one more together and then you're going to be on your own, okay? All right, so the problem says Well, maybe. On a hot day at the factory, 219 out of 700 purple crayons melted. About how many crayons are left? Rounded to the nearest hundred. So again, we're rounding to the nearest hundred. We know that we have 700 crayons, and 219 of them melted. So if they are melting, are we adding to the total number of crayons that we had, or are we taking away? We are taking away. So we know 700 minus 219. We also know that we need to round to the nearest hundred. Well, we can already see that 700 is already rounded to the nearest hundred. So let's go ahead and round 219. Benchmarks, midpoint. If I'm rounding to my nearest hundred, I'm looking at my hundreds place. Ones, tens, hundreds. What is the value, or how much is 200s worth? It is worth 200. What comes after 200? 300. In the middle is 250. 219 comes before 250. So is it closer to 200 or closer to 300? It is closer to 200. So 219 rounds down to 200. Now we can do 700 minus 200. I'm going to draw 700s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to take away 2. 1, 2. How many hundreds are left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my answer is 500. All right, you're going to have 3 problems to do by yourself in your math notebook. Make sure you're using your strategies to help you solve the word problems. Draw your number lines. Use base 10s to help you add or subtract. Take a picture of your work, of your notebook, and send it to your teacher. Have a great rest of your day.